Good evening. We begin at 5 o'clock with more results coming in tonight in the midterm election and close races in the Northwest. The Oregonian is now projecting Republican Lori Chavez Dreamer will be the winner in Oregon's District 5 congressional race. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Mulco. That seat's been held by Democrat Kurt Schrader for over a decade and now will flip from blue to red. Let's bring in Evan Watson in the newsroom tracking that race and a couple others, Evan, that are still too close to call.
Yeah, David, let's start right there in Oregon's 5th district. Flipping that seat is a big gain for Republicans hoping to gain control of the House of Representatives. As it stands, Chavez Dreamer leads by about 7,000 votes. She released a statement today saying she is humbled and grateful for the support and said her projected win shows Oregon families wanted a congresswoman to tackle inflation and keep them safe. McLeod Skinner, on the other hand, said this afternoon that it's still too soon to call this race with a number of outstanding ballots. In the new 6th congressional district, Andrea Salinas leads by about 4,000 votes. That lead has narrowed over the past 2 days. Clackamas County results will have a role to play in both the 5th and 6th districts. However, Clackamas County election workers are only verifying signatures on ballots today, not posting results. So we'll have to wait until 6 p.m. tomorrow on Saturday for an update from Clackamas in both of these races. And then over in Washington's 3rd congressional district, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez's lead has effectively been cut in half from election night, down from about 10,000 votes to about 5,000. Cowlitz County added the results of about 5,000 votes this afternoon, which all favored Kent. But Cowlitz only has about 2,000 ballots left to go. A large majority of the outstanding votes are from Clark County, close to 45,000 ballots in all there in Clark. Both candidates are waiting to see how these votes are going to be split.
Wow, Evan, a lot of us anxiously awaiting more results. When can we expect more results from Clark County, and any sense at all of which candidate is favored in the results to come?
Yeah, Clark County plans to share the results of about 20,000 ballots tonight at 6:15. And then county workers are going to work tomorrow, overtime on Saturday as well, to release another 20,000 votes tomorrow night. And as for your question about the candidates, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez has received 56% of Clark County votes to this point. But in yesterday's 25,000 vote update, it was essentially even between her and Joe Kent. Republican candidates in Clark County did encourage their supporters to wait until Election Day to return their ballots. So we'll see tonight if the results continue to shift in Kent's favor. He'll need to win the remaining Clark County votes to win this race.
So we have about a little over an hour to wait for more results. Thank you, Evan.
And all these House races, of course, critical for determining the balance of power. Here's a look at where things stand now in the House, according to the New York Times and the Oregonian. Democrats have won 199 seats, Republicans 212. The key number, 218. Now, at this point, NBC News and others have the GOP still favored to take the House, though by a smaller margin than what was predicted in the lead up to Election Day.
In the race for Oregon governor this afternoon, Republican Christine Drazan conceded to the winner, Democrat Tina Kotek.
I am speaking with you today to concede the race for governor in the great state of Oregon. It was a hard-fought battle, and this is not the outcome that we hoped for. But I am grateful to have been a part of this process. I am grateful to have had the incredible opportunity to travel our state and meet with Oregonians.
While there are still ballots left to count, Kotek leads by about 65,000 votes. The Oregonian's analysis of the remaining votes shows there are not enough left in Drazan's favor to overcome her deficit. Today, NBC News also called the race for Kotek. The Oregonian and the Associated Press had already made that call earlier in the week.
Well, let's talk about Measure 112 now. That was passed statewide by Oregon voters. It removes language from the state constitution that allows, quote, slavery as a punishment for crime. It also adds new wording that allows for those convicted of a crime to be ordered into community service, educational programs, or other alternatives to incarceration. Now, the word slavery in that measure is what caught the attention of a lot of voters who thought it had been abolished long ago in the U.S., though technically in some form, it does appear slavery still exists today. Casey Decker breaks it down in tonight's Verify.
Slavery may sound like an issue of the past, but ballot measures in 5 states show it remains relevant in 2022. You might have seen this viral tweet out of Memphis announcing that slavery has just now been banned in Tennessee. Some people replied to that tweet saying, as surreal as it sounds, slavery remains technically legal in the vast majority of states. So is that true? Are some forms of slavery still legal in America? To verify, we read the U.S. Constitution, several state constitutions, and the ballot measures in question. And we spoke with one of the lead supporters of those measures. The form of slavery that most people are familiar with in American history, where human beings could be considered legal property, is called chattel slavery. That was banned in 1865 when the 13th Amendment was ratified. But the text of the amendment contains a huge exception. Here's what it says, quote, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction.
And so what that means is that so long as you've been convicted of a crime, you can still legally be enslaved.
That's Bianca Tylek. She heads up Worth Rises, a group dedicated to prison reform. She says because of this exception clause, prisoners can be forced to work for little or no pay. So she and others are backing federal legislation to remove that clause. To do so would require another national constitutional amendment. Advocates are also working to change state constitutions, many of which have similar language.
Across the U.S., there are some states that explicitly allow slavery according to the same exception clause in the 13th Amendment. Others are silent on the issue, which means that the 13th Amendment basically reigns for all of its citizens.
And that's how we ended up with ballot measures like the one in Tennessee and 4 other states in this election. Voters approved all but one of them. 3 other states passed similar measures in the last 4 years. Prior to that, only Rhode Island had explicitly banned all forms of slavery.
Outside of those 8 states, slavery is certainly legal.
So we can verify, yes, some forms of slavery are still legal in America. Now, even in those 8 states, prison labor has actually largely continued as normal. Many states argue that requiring prisoners to work or face punishment still wouldn't legally constitute slavery. Those arguments will have to be hashed out in court. But in the meantime, advocates say removing any exceptions and unequivocally banning slavery is simply an important human rights issue. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
Turning to Portland's homeless crisis and the mayor's plan to tackle it. We're learning that each of the massive sanctioned campsites proposed by the mayor will hold up to 250 people and have around-the-clock security. Mike Benner joins us from outside City Hall. Mike, these details came out during a Zoom call?
Yeah, that's right. A Zoom call between one of the mayor's aides and stakeholders. That according to a report out of the Willamette Week. We're also learning just how much the mayor thinks it'll cost to get this off the ground. At a meeting Thursday, Mayor Ted Wheeler proposed $27 million in funding. Among other things, those dollars would go towards the construction of 3 large sanctioned campsites, as well as operation of those campsites for 1 year. The Willamette Week is reporting the mayor's aide, Sam Adams, divulged details about the campsites on a Zoom call with stakeholders Thursday. Adams reportedly revealed that each campsite will hold up to 250 people, all of whom must be referred by an outreach worker. Absolutely no walk-ins, no weapons or fires either, and drugs and alcohol will not be tolerated in common spaces. Additionally, 2 meals a day will be provided at the campsites, along with access to housing assistance and basic hygiene services.
It's no surprise that this work requires a considerable amount of funding. I will continue to ask our federal partners, our governor-elect, leaders within the Metro Regional Government, and the incoming Multnomah County Chair to partner with us and to provide the services and resources needed to do the hard work ahead of us.
All right, it's worth mentioning we did make contact with a couple of the people on the Zoom call with Sam Adams when he revealed details about the campsites, and one of them was Scott Kerman, Executive Director of Blanchet House, and he told me that some of the details are troubling, and he wonders how many people in Old Town would access or even qualify for the camps. We also made contact with Susan Lindsay of the Buckman Neighborhood Association, and she tells me the plan seems aspirational, and she has a healthy sense of skepticism that it's achievable. Let's send it back to you.
Mike Benner with the update tonight. Thank you, Mike. And since homelessness and housing go hand in hand, let's talk about some new numbers which show runaway prices for years in Portland are starting to drop in some neighborhoods. Daisy Caballero is here with us tonight. Daisy, lower prices maybe, but also higher mortgage rates.
Yeah, and that has a lot of buyers holding off for now. The market is definitely on pause, just as we're seeing new numbers that show you have to make a six-figure income just to afford a home in Portland. All of it coming as quite a shock.
Sellers are still in shock that they can't get the prices that Redfin and Zillow were telling them that their house was worth just a few months ago.
It's no secret the housing market has changed within the last 5 years alone, and boy will it cost you a pretty penny for a new home.
Oh God. Yep, that's about right.
The Portland Business Journal took home values from Zillow and came up with the minimal annual income needed to buy a house within the Portland metro area. And you basically need a six-figure salary. It takes $135,000 to get into a Beaverton home, $212,000 for Northwest Portland, $107,000 for Southeast, $167,000 for Southwest, and the spendy part of the metro is still Lake Oswego, where the median income level is $237,000.
That's shocking.
And that got the attention of thousands on Facebook. Jennifer saying, "I'm a teacher and I have to face the reality that I will likely never be able to own my own home with my income." Janet said, "Houses on my street are selling for 9 times what I paid for my house back in the late 80s. I could never afford to buy a house now." And I showed that map to a handful of people and they all had the same reaction.
It's sticker shock. You know, it's hard to imagine if I were in my youth being able to afford something like this. So
Spurlock says buyers are in shock. They're sitting on the sidelines now until mortgage rates that are now at 7% for a 30-year fixed settle down. She's seeing sales fall through more and more, but buyers from out of the state are still moving here, but are taking their time with decisions.
So certainly we have more inventory on the market and less demand for that inventory. There are just fewer buyers that are willing to move forward with all this uncertainty, or that can afford to move forward with this uncertainty.
She anticipates housing prices to continue to go down or pause during the holidays. Things should start to pick right back up by the end of the year, and for sure by 2024.
And if you'd like to weigh in on the conversation, head to our Facebook page and leave a comment. We'll have more details on KGW.com. David, Laurel.